In the last episode, we found this forgotten 1984 BMW R100RT. It was parked since 2005. At first glance, it looked complete, and the low mileage was what made me decide to bring this bike home. But looks can be deceiving. So in this episode, we find out what's really hiding beneath the surface. Before tearing anything apart, I always try one thing. I try to start the bike, just to listen and see what works and what doesn't work. So I put the bike in second gear and tried to rotate the rear wheel. The engine turned freely, and that's a good sign. I then moved to the carbs to spray carb cleaner to make sure the passages are clear, but I couldn't get the float bowls off. I tried tapping them gently with a rubber mallet, nothing. Years of sitting had essentially glued them in place. It was only after applying heat that the bowls finally broke free. And what I saw inside shocked me as I never saw anything like it. Old fuel had turned into thick, hardened varnish. Jets were fouled, passages completely blocked. In my 1983 restoration, this didn't happen. What I found was more oxidation. But varnish? How do you clean this? This bike never stood a chance of running like this. I knew the forks were bad, but once we washed off the dirt and oil, the real damage was revealed. Heavy rust, deep pitting. They would need major repair or replacement, and that can be very expensive. Then came the moment that stopped everything. The left exhaust nut came off easily, but the right one didn't. It fell off, and underneath it, stripped threads. Someone had tried to forcibly remove the exhaust nut in the past. Airhead exhaust threads require specialized repair. This isn't something just any shop can handle. And at that moment, I wasn't even sure if there was a shop like that here in the Philippines. As the teardown continued, more issues appeared. When we opened the front cover, we found the diode board was incorrectly mounted. One of the studs was missing. We also found that the ignition timing connector had disintegrated. The problems were adding up, time, and of course cost. But walking away at this time wasn't an option anymore. After more than 3 months of waiting for parts, restoration, repairs, we're now ready for our first engine start. But before I do that, let me just briefly say what repairs were made. First are the forks. It was heavily pitted and rusted. So we had it rebuilt. We had it built up first before we had it hard chrome. So now it looks almost like new. Okay? You don't even see the pitting, and of course the rust was removed. We replaced the old wheel bearings with brand new NTN wheel bearings, and we also rebuilt the calipers, both rear and front and rear calipers with Brembo rebuild kits, installed Brembo disc pads, and as you can see, we also cleaned the rotors and the nuts and bolts. We nickel plated all of them ourselves. So the other difficult part in this build was this right exhaust port. It was stripped, so we had to take it to a specialty machine shop wherein a special jig had to be built so that the port aligned with the lathe and allowed the machinist to create the threads. Of course, they had it TIG welded to build up the exhaust port before it was machined by the lathe. So inside this electrical cover, engine electrical cover, we cleaned the bean can and the alternator. But what's important is that we replaced the diode board, which was incorrectly mounted, which caused the diode board mount to crack. So we now have solid mounts, and we installed a Thunderchild diode board, uh, in this engine. So the carbs were also rebuilt. Of course, new diaphragm, new O-rings, and we also replaced the floats with new floats because the old one was a bit heavier, which can be difficult to tune. So this one is just right. And if you'll notice, we actually vapor blasted the carb, so that's why it has this nice shine to it, removing all the old crud and oil from years of not being maintained properly. We also did a cylinder head cleanup here by decarbonizing the piston head and also the valves, so it's a lot cleaner now. And hopefully it will improve performance since everything's clean. We also adjusted the valves, both the input and output valves. So one of the bearings that we had to replace was the clutch release thrust bearing here, and we also replaced the rubber boot that prevents oil from leaking from the transmission. So we had the frame painted by our painter, and to do that, we had to remove everything: the engine, the swing arm, and the rear drive. And when we were assembling it, it was an opportunity for us to install a new transmission shaft boot, which was quite challenging because of the small space that you had to work with. We spent a lot of effort to make things look clean and nice. So even things that are not visible from outside the bike, like this oil cooler mount, we made sure that it looked clean and polished. So parts of the things that we polished was the center design of the electrical cover. Even the fins on the engine, we made sure that it was polished so that it will bring out the shine in those details. We chrome plated a lot of the parts, like uh, the coil holders were chrome plated. And this parts are not going to be visible from the outside, but we know that it's clean, even if it's covered by the tank. Okay, here's our first engine start. We have our auxiliary tank. Let's do a full choke. Start.